Good day everyone. Welcome to my channel Quick Tech Master Mariner. Don't forget to like, subscribe and press the bell icon to get notification of all other videos.
Hey everyone, did you know the world's biggest ships are in this constant, totally hidden battle, and it costs billions of dollars every single year? Today we're going to look at the incredible tech they use to fight an enemy you've probably never even heard of. So, let's dive right in. Alright, so let me ask you, what do you think is the biggest drag on global shipping? No, it's not what you think. It's not bad weather or regulations. It's something way smaller and a lot slimier. The culprit? It's called marine fouling, or you might hear it called biofouling. Basically, it's just a fancy term for all the gunk, the algae, the barnacles, the slime that builds up on the bottom of a ship. Just imagine trying to drive your car with the emergency brake pulled a little bit, all the time. That's what this is. It creates massive drag, which means ships burn way more fuel, and that, of course, means more emissions. We're talking billions of dollars wasted. It's a huge, living, breathing problem. But, the shipping industry isn't just taking this lying down. Oh no! They have a whole arsenal of weapons to fight back. And today, we're going to break down 5 of the big ones, the main anti-fouling systems they use to keep those hulls clean and the ships running smoothly.
Okay, first up, we're going to look at the chemical front. This is kind of the old school approach, you could say. It's basically a form of chemical warfare against all that marine growth, both on the outside of the ship and on the inside.
And the number one weapon, the one you've definitely seen, is anti-fouling paint. You know that reddish-brown color on the bottom of almost every big ship? Yeah, that's not just a fashion choice. That paint is actually a super powerful defense system.
So, how does it actually work? Well, it's surprisingly simple. That special paint is packed with something called biocides, things like copper, which are toxic to tiny marine critters. The paint slowly, very slowly, releases these biocides, creating this kind of toxic force field that barnacles and algae just hate. The only catch? It wears off. So every few years, the ship has to go into dry dock to get a fresh coat. All right, so that's the outside of the ship covered. But what about the inside? That's where our second chemical method comes in, chemical dosing. If the paint is protecting the skin, this is all about protecting the ship's arteries. The whole idea here is to be super targeted. See, ships suck in a ton of seawater to cool their engines, and that water is full of tiny larvae and spores just looking for a home. So this system actively injects a biocide, usually chlorine, right into the sea chests and pipes. It zaps those little invaders before they can grow and clog up the works, which would be, well, really bad for the engine. So let's just quickly recap the chemical solutions. You've got paint for the outside, that's a passive external defense. And then you've got dosing for the inside, an active internal defense. Different targets, but the same basic idea. Use chemicals to keep the critters away.
Okay, now we're going to level up the tech a bit. We're moving on from chemicals and into the world of electricity. We're talking about systems that literally zap the problem before it even has a chance to start.
First up, in the electrical category, is the electrolytic system. You'll often hear it called an MGPS, which just stands for Marine Growth Prevention System. And it's a really clever piece of onboard electrochemistry. So here's how it works. The system has these things called sacrificial anodes. They're basically just bars of copper and aluminum. A small electric current is passed through them, which makes them slowly dissolve into the seawater that's being pulled into the ship. This whole process releases ions that create a weak, chlorine-based solution, just enough to make the pipes a really unpleasant place for marine life to set up shop. Now, the second electrical method is called impressed current anti-fouling, or ICAF for short. It's based on a similar idea, but there's one really big difference in how it gets the job done. Instead of using those sacrificial anodes that you have to replace, an ICAF system uses permanent ones that are hooked up to the ship's power supply. This impressed current, that's where the name comes from, creates an electrical field inside the pipes and sea chests. It doesn't really kill the organisms, it just creates an environment they really don't want to be in, so they don't even try to attach.
Okay, so let's just nail down the difference here. Think of it this way. The MGPS uses anodes that dissolve to produce a chlorine solution. The ICAF, on the other hand, uses permanent anodes to create an electrical field. One makes a chemical barrier, the other makes an electrical one.
All right, for our last category, we're taking a totally different approach. No chemicals, no dissolving metals. This is the sound wave solution, a really modern physical method that's, well, it's literally shaking things up.
So say hello to the ultrasonic system. This thing is fascinating. It's way more eco-friendly because it's not using any chemicals at all. Instead, it harnesses the pure power of high-frequency sound to keep things clean. Okay, so how on earth does sound clean a pipe? Well, it's all about physics. The system sends out these high-frequency sound waves which you can't even hear. These waves create zillions of microscopic bubbles in the water. This is a process called cavitation. And then, here's the cool part. Those tiny bubbles collapse and burst violently against the surface of the pipes. It's like having a non-stop army of microscopic scrubbers cleaning every inch, making it impossible for anything to hang on.
And that's really the biggest selling point, right? It's an eco-friendly approach. You're using physics, not chemistry, so you're not dumping any potentially harmful stuff back into the ocean.
Wow, okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, right? We've gone from good old-fashioned paint to electrical fields to literally using sound waves. Let's do a super quick recap and put them all side by side.
This chart pretty much says it all. You can see the breakdown. 2 chemical systems, 2 electrical ones, and the 1 physical system. They all have the same goal: stop that marine gunk from growing. But man, they go about it in completely different ways.
And you know, all this leaves us with a really big question for the future. Environmental rules are getting tighter all the time, as they should. So the whole shipping industry is in this constant balancing act between what works best and what's best for the planet. So what do you think? What's the future of keeping these massive ships clean? Is it going to be smarter chemicals, more advanced electrical fields, or maybe something totally new like these physical forces? One thing's for sure, the battle against the slime is far from over.